All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states. Nigeria has been here, has been here before rather, and because we have the world Ebola still carries fear, not because of rumors, not because of headlines, but because we remember what it means when the public health threat moves faster than public awareness. Today, there are no confirmed Ebola cases in Nigeria. Let's be clear about that. But across parts of Africa, the alarm has been raised. The World Health Organization has declared the outbreak in parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. A public health emergency has been declared. And with increased travels, movements, and regional mobility, Nigeria is on high alert. So the question is, not whether we should panic. We should not just be seated. The question is about, are we truly prepared if this threat gets closer? Because public health emergencies are not just fought in hospitals. They are fought at borders, in communities, in information, and in how quickly people respond. So today on Real Talk with Kike, I separate that fact from fear. Again, I welcome you to another interesting edition of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, your executive producer, your chief host of this program. My name remains Kike Lomo Atanda-Owo Abati. I think it's important for us to hear what on this day industry segment has for us. When I return, I give my 2 cents on it. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. My takeaway from on this day initial segment today is about leadership, intentionality, and accountability, because this took place exactly 2015 to be precise, from the former Benue State Governor Gabriel, who publicly asked, civil servants and citizens for forgiveness for not meeting their expectations in office. And he said his intentions were good, even if the outcomes did not actually satisfy everyone. And perhaps that is just today's reminder. Good intentions are not enough, because whether in government or public health or in leadership, wherever you find yourself, or any kind of people who you are leading or being protected by, your intention is what actually keeps the people with you. And they are protected by also the preparedness that you bring on the table, the systems, and of course the result as well. I think that's the takeaway on this industry segment. It's time for us to go on a quick break to get a word from my sponsors. When I return, we'll dive straight to the issue at hand. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. This is Real Talk with Kike. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Let's get straight into it, because the Nigerian Center for Disease Control says that there are currently no confirmed Ebola cases in Nigeria, and that is important for me to put out there. But what is also important is this: Nigeria has classified the risk of importation as high. And why is that? Because outbreaks are active elsewhere in Africa. 10 African countries are already affected because people travel, because borders remain vulnerable, and because disease does not need permission to move. So now, with this Ebola alert, is Nigeria prepared for another public health emergency? This is not a fear conversation. This is a preparedness conversation to help us understand the facts, the risk, and what Nigerians need to know. I'm joined by a medical professional and a public health advocate, Dr. Ofem Eteng, and is a medical doctor, clinic manager, public health advocate, health communication professional. Before we go into real talk with him, I think it's important for us to play his profile, his guest profile, and when I return, I'll be speaking directly with him. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Let me use this medium to quickly usher in my guest, Dr. Eteng. It's a pleasure to have you on Real Talk with Kike today. Are you there?
Yes, thank you.
All right, many thanks for being here. Let's begin by, calming the room with facts, because there are currently no confirmed Ebola cases in Nigeria. So I don't want people who are watching us right now to not have the fear of, could there be Ebola? But the WHO has declared a regional public health emergency. So medically, how concerned should Nigerians be right now without slipping into fear or, how will I put it now, or complacent? Many people hear the word Ebola and immediately panic. What exactly are we dealing with, Doc? Help us understand this outbreak clearly. What stages are we, are we actually dealing with? How dangerous is it as well? And how is it compared to previous Ebola outbreaks? Nigeria already, remembers. What's your take on this quickly? Let's deal with with all of this information and also managing misinformation early so that it doesn't actually spread beyond the conversation we are having.
Okay, thank you very much. Currently, as you just stated from the Nigerian Center for Disease and Control and Prevention, have actually stated that clearly there's no Ebola outbreak in Nigeria for now. But what we have gotten to understand at this point is that as at May this year, there is already an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and also an imported case in Uganda. So, and first, I would also like to also emphasize that NCDC has also said for Nigerians, do not need to panic. We don't need to get so bothered about it currently. But in as much as we still need to be at alert to understand that the necessary things that we need to do to prepare towards preventing this menace from coming to us should actually be in place. So Ebola virus, just as we've known before now, is a virus that causes the Ebola virus disease. It is part of one of the most contagious viral hemorrhagic fevers that we have, because of how contagious and how sporadic it can actually be when contacted. everybody is always trying to make sure that preventions are put in place than you waiting for it to come, start affecting Nigerians or people around your area before putting things into place. As at 17th of May this year, the NCDC have actually released a statement or a communique out there written by the director, that is Dr. Olajide Idris, making Nigerians to understand that you don't need to panic, but we need to start beginning now to understand that one of the things we need to look out for is making sure that people get the information that there's a pandemic going on, and this epidemic is going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then we should be able to, at this point, start avoiding or limiting our contact with animals, especially those white animals, like we eating bush meat, and also not getting involved with the body fluids or anything that has to do with some of these animals, especially the fruit bats. And we could also understand that for you to actually contact Ebola as it stands now, it could be actually from animals to humans, from humans to humans. That of animal to humans will actually be by you consuming the bush meat, which most times in Nigeria, looking at our condition, we might not have actually cooked those meats properly, or you may not have actually prepared some of these meals properly, or eating fruits that are actually being tampered or eaten by some of these animals that are contaminated. And then from humans to humans, someone that has had Ebola in the recent time, like people currently living in the Democratic Republic of Congo, when you have contact with those kind of persons, you tend to come down with the same symptoms. And these symptoms are very, very peculiar and almost similar with malaria symptoms. And that's why most times they are actually missed, because if the doctor that is in contact with this patient does not have a high clinical acumen or high index of suspicion, you might just treat it just like malaria, just like the case that we had with Patrick Sawyer in 2014 when he came in July, and then a lot of persons from our airport down to the hospital almost missed it, only for Dr. Atanda-Owo, Stella, that is of blessed memory, that was able to contain it. And then, thank God, it didn't go beyond what would have caused a lot of death or fatality rates in Nigeria. So currently, what every Nigerian needs to know, that there's Ebola within Africa, but not in Nigeria. But we need to take precautions, especially even the health workers. For we that are the health workers, we are also worried, because Nigeria, as it stands now, we will say, are we prepared, or are we ready for this epidemic to come in again? No, I will say, because there's nothing in place for this prevention. In as much as NCDC has started something, a communique has been sent out, some states have been activated, but I tell you, in most hospitals up to now, we can't boast of having personal protective equipment like the PEP that are supposed to help you as a health professional not to actually contact this contagious infection if you come in contact with any of this. And then our borders are so porous, our airports and all of that, how people come in. In Nigeria, you tend to see that people tend to want to do something only when they get to the point where it has already happened. If you ask now, what are we put in place now that it is in DRC, you discover that nothing is on ground now. But immediately it gets to the point where you've heard that there's a case, you see that everybody is running around trying to make sure that something is done. So this is the time that Nigeria needs to act now. Thank God the person that is now the director of NCDC was the leader and the person who led the delegation for the former outbreak at the point where he was the Lagos State Commissioner of Health, Dr. Idris. So he is already the NCDC director now. So we encourage that, and we let our voice that measures should be taken now, so we don't end up having a case before we go on to say we need to start doing something about Ebola virus. Thank you.
All right, many thanks for that insights right there. But to one of the big questions regarding the preparedness, the NDC says that the risk of importation is high, and border screening has reportedly been activated. So I must ask you, in terms of surveillance, which is on alert right now, how do we move forward with all of this regarding the issue at hand? But when we want to balance this conversation, let's balance it from the real public health standpoint. Is Nigeria genuinely prepared, or are we only activating, precautionary optics? What's your take on this?
Okay, thank you very much. Even the precautionary measures are not even in place as it stands now. If you could actually agree with me that in 2014, what was going on was that at the point where Ebola virus hit Nigeria, you could see a lot of precautions was activated both in banks, schools, and even in the health facilities. But I'm very sure if you visit a lot of health facilities now, banks and so many places, you discover that the common method of hand hygiene, that is washing your hands, is no more in display again because we felt we have gone past that level. So are we prepared, or are we actually at the point where we need to act? For preparedness now, no, but we need to actually act following from our borders, how people come in, they should be screened properly. Our airports, how people come in, they should be screened properly. Then in all the major centers where a lot of population go to, both our banks, our healthcare facilities, schools, they should, all of this should be provided and be kept in place. And people should be made more aware of this, just as what we are doing now. We could actually go further to visit schools, and then NCDC will actually lead in this case, why every other person will follow. Why now I say every other person will follow is because every Nigerian has a role to play. Because if you stop or you don't eat a bushmeat, if you don't come in contact with these animals that have the tendency to spread this virus from them to humans, if you tend to do your part where if you have this virus at any point in time, you isolate yourself and not step out of your house, try to reach out to NCDC either from the nearest facility, healthcare facility, or calling their toll-free number that is they've stated in their website, which is 6232. These are ways which we can actually move forward with it. But if it is currently now, whether there are things that are in place to preempt the spread of this virus from where it is now in the Democratic Republic of Congo, I would doubt because there's no information saying that. Thank you.
All right, many thanks for that honest submission right there. But you know what? Let's be honest, because the border reality check now is one question that I feel that we need to, elaborate more on, because, Nigeria's borders are porous. Travel is fluid. Monitoring can be inconsistent. How realistic is it to believe that the thermal scanners and airports, screening alone can protect a country like Nigeria? I want you to speak through to this question at hand.
Okay, thank you very much. We had most of these scanners and measures placed at this entry points, especially the those borders, both at the airport. I think as at then, if you visit the airport, you could actually see that these things were judiciously being in place and also used. But currently, if you go to most of these places, you can see that those things, and even if they are there, they are not functional. So what is needed now is to reactivate some of them that are already in place, and then to make provisions for new or more equipment, so that these people in the border can actually be able to arrest any of these cases that might find itself into our country. Then the other part is that in as much as these things we are talking about is something that has to do with life and death and then health, you will see that when Patrick Sawyer came into Nigeria, he could actually pass through the airport undetected. He even got to the hospital where he was still suspected as if it's a malaria case. So it borders more on those our borders where this measure should be taken, we make sure that it should be put in place. Following, maybe I think the NCDC will actually lead in this by making sure that this proper equipment, the scanners, the detectors, and then properly well equipped and trained medical personnel should be at this exit and incoming point. So we don't end up importing or having any of these cases as it stands now that we don't have any currently. I think that is what the government should be able to do moving forward.
All right, many thanks for all your submission thus far. Let's go on a quick break to get a word from my sponsors. When I return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. This is Real Talk with Kike. All right, many thanks for staying with me. If you are just tuning in, this is Real Talk with Kike, and we've been speaking about, or I've been speaking with Dr. Ofem Eteng. Dr. Ofem is a medical doctor, a clinic manager, public health advocate, and of course, a health communication professional. And in the first half, I've been able to separate facts from fear, examine the current Ebola threat, and looked at whether Nigeria is truly prepared. Now, I want to go a bit deeper into the conversation. But before then, let me use this opportunity to open the phone lines for those who would like to be part of the conversation. The number to call is showing on your screen right now. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook, on Real Talk with Kiki, and of course on Silverbird platform. And let's jump back into the next part of this conversation or this show. To come to you, Doc, because I know that earlier you mentioned bushmeat. So to the fun seekers, the bushmeat eaters, when you mentioned it earlier, I was like, you know what, I needed to bring it back into the conversation, because the bushmeat conversation, physicians are warning that Nigerians that like to eat bushmeat, to understand the exposure to bushmeat. So this immediately creates anxiety for quite a number of bush meat seekers, and also created some confusion. So is this scientifically grounded in terms of caution, or are we at risk of creating panic around food habits without context? What's your take on this?
Okay, thank you very much. Just as everybody comes from a village, my village in Cross River is a place where, as you grew up, you discover that the hunters actually go out to the bush to get most of this bush meat. And the natural reservoir for this Ebola virus is the fruit bats. And because even you've discovered some parts of the country, they eat bats. And apart from bats actually being the natural reservoir, bats can actually come in contact with other wild animals that are in the bush, and then they will contact some of this virus. And then when you kill, or the hunters go in, hunt and get this meat back into the communities, people definitely, there are a lot of persons here who like bushmeat, and they consume it. And when they consume it, they have high chances of coming down with this Ebola virus, because it's actually scientifically proven that that is a natural reservoir. And if you eat of the fruit bat, or an animal that has come in contact with that same fruit bat that has the Ebola virus already, you have tendency of coming down with the Ebola virus. And from, just as I've said initially, from animal to human, from human to human, that's how the spread continues. And for humans who actually get in contact or are eating this meat that is already contaminated, they tend to, between 2 days and 21 days, come down with these symptoms. And when they come down with these symptoms, that's the time where they are also contagious, where you come in contact with their body fluids, their blood, and any other thing, you can also be get infected. And so, to answer your question, it's actually scientifically proven, yes, that bushmeat is a major, as a natural reservoir, is what can actually cause people to contact the Ebola virus. Thank you.
All right, many thanks for that. So let's taking a step back from all that has been shared. I want us to take a cue from the lessons from the last time, because Nigerians' Ebola response in 2014 is often, praised globally. Contact tracing worked, rapid containment, worked as well. What exactly did Nigeria get right then? And are those same systems still strong today, if you look at things holistically where we are?
Okay, thank you very much. I must say Nigeria were able to get it very right in 2014 because of, we say kudos to the blessed memory Dr. Atanda-Owo Stella, who was able to actually, at the point where every other person missed these symptoms, which, as I've said, a lot of persons can actually miss it because it presents also like malaria symptoms, ranging from fever, headache, body muscle pain, joint pain, and even vomiting, and then diarrhea and all of that. For every normal Nigerian, some of them will not even go to the hospital. They will tell you it's malaria, and they go to the nearby pharmacy and get drugs. But if you read the story, you get to understand that at the point where Dr. Stella came for a ward round that day, something struck her after she got to understand that this man actually traveled from a particular country to Nigeria. And that's why for healthcare professionals, we are very concerned about when the patient comes in and you're taking a very good history. Immediately you hear of this malaria symptoms, and then the person has previously eaten bushmeat that might, in quotes, be suspected to be contaminated or be had Ebola virus, or someone that has traveled to one of these countries, like currently Democratic Republic of Congo, it gives you a high index of suspicion that that is a patient that you don't need to allow to just be with other patients or allowed to go home. Just as what Dr. Stella did at that point, he made sure that he contained and kept Dr. Patrick Sawyer, the Liberian American, in just the place where she met. And then, despite the man was asking for discharge, she didn't allow this man to go. And hence, they were able to contain it, and then with contact tracing, in as much as they ended up, she and her team, losing a life, they were able to pay that sacrifice to ensure that, especially for a city like Lagos, where the only thing that goes out of the city, you can't control how fast it will spread. So part of measures were starting from the healthcare professionals being able to detect any of these symptoms and taking proactive measures. Then number two, just as the guideline for NCDC has said, we also make sure that universal precautions are always taken when attending to patients, and also making use of your personal protective equipment, which will read from your goggles, your face masks, your aprons, and all of that. That protects the healthcare worker, because in this case, I must say that the healthcare professional is always at the front line of the highest, being at risk of contacting this, especially when the patient comes to us. And then the last part is that the isolation method that was brought in as at that time, immediately they isolated Patrick Sawyer and every other contact that they were traced to being in contact, both the people from the plane, aircraft, and then down to the hospital. They were able to contain this. So those three measures are the major things that made Nigeria to get it right. So those are things we can also still replicate now, even if we are watching out that we don't get Ebola virus now, but we should have high index of suspicion. We should also be able to understand our healthcare professionals. We should be able to maintain universal precautions, and also not just regular precautions, make use of our personal protective equipment when attending to patients, especially in emergency setting. And then isolation is very key, both as individuals who have contacted it or patients who have discovered that they have the Ebola virus. I think that those are measures that made Nigerians succeed as at that time. So we can still leverage on these measures. Thank you.
So leveraging on that right now, because public health is not just government work, which brings me to the citizens' responsibility question. So what practical responsibility do ordinary Nigerians have right now, especially around hygiene, symptoms, reporting, and responsible behavior? That's my first question to you. My second question to you, if you can marry both, is talking about this misinformation threats. Sometimes panic spreads faster than even the disaster itself. WhatsApp broadcasts, fake cures, fear narrative. How dangerous is misinformation during a public health emergency? And do you think that we need to touch on right now, what should Nigerians actually trust when it comes to information online?
Okay, thank you very much. As I've said, the healthcare professionals has a role to play. NCDC has a role to play. Then the Nigerian citizen, every Nigerian citizen also have a role to play. The role every Nigerian citizen needs to play, number one, is hand hygiene. It can never be overemphasized as it has to do with Ebola virus. So it's, as it stands now, just as we did in 2014, homes, offices, schools should begin now to return or bring back that practice of making sure before you enter a place, you wash your hands. As you're leaving, you're washing your hands. Using of hand sanitizer, people should begin to get hand sanitizer as it was before, because I know the caution that has been dampened down, but now you can reawaken it so that wherever you go, because some persons go to places, touch surfaces, and then they end up using those same hands to touch part of their body, or even, and then that could actually be a mode of transmission. So hand hygiene, use of good hand sanitizers, and also making sure that at any point where anybody has these symptoms, which is fever, muscle pain, joint pain, headache, the person start vomiting, some of them might start bleeding. The NCDC has given us a toll-free line. They said it's 6232. Immediately you dial this line, I'm sure you get a response. And then apart from that, when you notice any of these symptoms and you notice in the past you have eaten any bushmeat, or you've had contact with somebody coming from DRC or Uganda or any of these countries that currently has Ebola, you should remain in your house. Isolate yourself. That's one of the another thing citizens need to do. Stay in your house. Do not move around, go spreading it to friends. Call that number or tell somebody to contact health facility close to you that they will come to your aid. They will be able to come. When they come, they will wear their personal protective equipment to come and pick you appropriately to avoid the spread of these diseases. Then they can actually transport you to the appropriate place, and then treatment would be given. I think that is what currently is the thing that every Nigerian citizen could actually contribute to this public health emergency that we're already having in parts of Africa.
All right, many thanks again for that submission right there. This will be my last question to you before we move to the last segment of the show, which is us being honest right now, because let's be direct. If Ebola crossed into Nigeria tomorrow, would our public health system respond with this kind of speed that you are talking about, or coordination and discipline required? Or are we just less prepared than we usually think, or just want to just assume that things will be done, we'll get over it? What's your take on this quickly?
Okay, thank you very much. I must be sincere. I doubt if that response will be that swift, because as it stands now, in as much as we don't have any epidemic or pandemic around the country, if you visit most of our healthcare facilities, you will see that there is deficiency, even preparedness towards emergency management in some health facilities, where someone presents with something that could be contagious, but because the facility is things you're supposed to use as personal protective equipment are not even on ground. So you might end up, maybe an enthusiastic health worker can go there and receive that emergency without being protected. And with that, there is a tendency that there's going to be spread. So whether we are prepared now to be able to tackle a public health emergency that at any point gets into the country, no, that's the answer. But are we actually in a part where we were going to make it better? Yes. The NCDC has already activated, from what I saw in their side, they have activated some processes, and then you say they have also talked to some states to start and all of that. But that is the problem with Nigeria. It's only when we hear that something is coming out, something that is already around, that's when we start preparing. What is the issue with we having these things on ground? Making sure that these things are always in place, so that nothing takes us unaware, and no healthcare worker gets infected before we start making measures, just as the way 2014 case actually played out.
Thanks, Dr. Ofem, for bringing clarity and science and perspective to the conversation at hand on Real Talk with Kike today. But before I let you go or move on, I think it's important for me to re-emphasize on the perspective that you've shared thus far. What we have heard today is very clear. Nigeria has no confirmed Ebola cases, but the regional risk is real. Preparedness must remain active. Doctors' guests today have also emphasized on how we must understand that swiftness might not be what we'll be getting from medical lines, but we as individuals can also prepare ourselves and take ownership of that. And public awareness matters just as much as medical response at the center of it all is right now. And of course, the public health emergencies are not defeated by panic. They are defeated by preparation. So here is my own take. Disease does not actually respect borders, and fear does not solve outbreaks. What protects a nation is trust. Trust is trust in system, trust in facts, trust in responsible communication. And because public health emergency are not just government events, they are shared national responsibility. It's all about us taking ownership together to get a better response in the health sector if such occurrences take place. But on this note, I want to say again many thanks to my guest, Dr. Eno. But before I let you go, Dr. Eno, there's the last segment of my show that I call Trending Stories, and this is where I have an opinion as a host. And the first trending story that I will be talking about or touching on today is the sensitivity of our political leaders to adoption and insecurity. I just needed to lend my voice on the issue at hand, because I've seen quite a number, a few, not a number, just a few of our influencers, or public celebrities actually, try to lend their voices to the issue. And it's because I feel that it's tilted towards their state or something like that. But what we are witnessing in Nigeria today is the absolutely height of hypocrisy, if you ask me, in terms of, you know, there's no sensitivity and political double standards from those in power right now. The same people who cried, shouted, condemned and weaponized insecurity under former President Goodluck Jonathan are now suddenly mute when Nigerians are being adopted, slaughtered and displaced rather, almost on a daily basis under this current administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But before I use the media optics of them visiting and shedding crocodile tears, if you ask me, there's no more optics. They are busy with primaries to retain their political positions at the detriment of lost lives. Where did we get it wrong in Nigeria is the question I'm asking. How did we allow this to happen to us is also what I'm bringing to fore. I saw the old video of Vice President Kashim Shettima, you know, shedding tears during the insurgency era in Borno under Goodluck Jonathan's administration. Back then, you know, but they told Nigerians that insecurity meant failure of leadership. Back then, every attack was used as political ammunition. Every death was amplified. Every kidnapping became a national emergency. But today, where is that same energy? Where is that same outrage? Where is the same emotional performance for Nigerians dying in farms, highways, schools, villages, name it? Children are being kidnapped in Oyo State now. Families are crying. Parents do not sleep anymore. Villagers are being, you know, I don't know. Yeah, the silence from the political class is defeating. The same people who mocked Patient Jonathan for saying, there is God, oh! The same people now doing this Chibok, because I remember that video vividly, during Chibok tragedy, are today behaving as though the blood of Nigeria means or meant nothing to them. It means nothing. The current First Lady has barely addressed this growing fear publicly. Many wives of top political, you know, office holders who would have rushed to cameras during opposition days are nowhere to be found now. The power is in their hands. And Nigerians are noticing. Artists are noticing too. Rude Boy, one of P-Square, you know, recently said that we are actually at war, lamenting the endless circle of kidnappings and insecurity. Kabasa and Kude Afford have also voiced their concerns over the frightening state of the state. I saw Kiki yesterday or so, who also let away. There's this girl, Biola something, to also do the same thing. When entertainers, influencers, and ordinary citizens are all sounding the alarm together, then you know the country is, you know, is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. What makes this worse is the normalization of tragedy. How it has become a culture. Nigerians are now scrolling past kidnapping headlines like it's weather forecast or whatever. One abduction today, another tomorrow. One massacre in the north, another killing in the south. We are becoming emotionally numb because leadership itself has become numb. The painful thing is that this government promised renewed hope, but hope cannot survive where fears rules the streets. Hope cannot grow where farmers cannot enter farms. Hope cannot grow when students cannot go to school safely and travelers cannot move freely without the fear of adoption. I saw a video yesterday where numbers of students rushing to enter a particular jeep saying, rescue us, they are coming. The number of students cannot all enter inside that car. This is no longer politics, so this is human lives. This is survival of a nation. And history will remember those who once cried about insecurity only when they were seeking power. But because silence, when it comes to silence, they've all forgotten that. Now I want to come from a different angle. I believe think tanks need to come together, seek a different strategy to fighting adoption and terrorism in our country, Nigeria. We are at the peak, or the peak point beyond just condemnation and criticism. The Southwest used to be a fortress where we thought we could be, I don't understand. The element of evil, we have to overcome this as one, as, I don't know, Nigeria is, I don't know what to say again. I don't know what to say again. That's just the honest truth. This is Real Talk with Kike, and I owe Nigerians nothing but being real. Unfortunately, that I must lend my voice on this issue at hand. And I don't know how else I can keep it real more than this. Quickly, Dr. Eno, what's your take on this?
Okay, thank you very much. The thing there is that until Nigerians start holding leaders responsible for most of these things, we would not actually get it right. Just as you said, a lot of persons now are coming up to talk. No child, nobody should even tend to die because of any of all of these things. But you see where he started in Maiduguri and Borno, and then we're saying it's the north. He started coming close, he's in Jos. We said, okay, he's still far a bit from us. We got to Benue as at 2-3 years ago. It was like killings everywhere. Now it's already in the southwest, with pockets of it happening in the south and all of that. These things are becoming worrisome over everybody's survival and sustenance in Nigeria. So what Nigerians need to do at this point in time is that if everybody wakes up and say, okay, the Nigerian citizens want to ask the government, what are they doing about insecurity? A little of this happened where it was led by the current president and some other APC leaders, where they were holding Jonathan's government to ransom that, okay, they need to tell us what they are doing for insecurity. But I see that there was a little bit of a result at that point in time. As time goes on, today, we barely have people who have stood up and said, okay, they want to hold this government and say what exactly is happening with insecurity. But all we hear is that everything is politicized. We are talking about people are dying, and someone is saying someone is sponsoring them. They're talking about people are dying, and then someone is saying definitely this killings will come down immediately, election come and pass. Somebody is saying, oh, when Buhari entered, we thought, okay, Buhari is going to calm it down. When did it happen? Did we hold him to ransom? No, now it's our person, Southwest. So let us allow him. So there's this ethnic and both religious tone of display with this insecurity matter. And until we take away religion, until we take away politics, and also take away ethnicity, we will be able to now say we want to work on insecurity, and then Nigeria will be a safe place for everybody. I think that's what Nigerian citizens must do, to hold this government and make sure that the right things are done for lives. You see the life of the teacher that was killed in Oyo State and all of that. Nobody should go through that kind of gruesome kind of death, but it happened. So everybody needs to start now to talk about it, so that the government will get to know that the citizens are aware and we are concerned. Until we get to start doing that, we are yet to actually start.
Thanks for that submission. And on this note, let's go on a quick break. I just want to thank you, Doc, for all that you have shared thus far. On this note, we'll go on a quick break, and when I return, the trending will continue. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. This is Real Talk with Kike. All right, many thanks for staying with me. And of course, the next segment of this show is about Children's Day, May 27th to be precise. And tomorrow, or will I say, yeah, tomorrow, or will I say today, actually, on Real Talk with Kike, we're celebrating Children's Day in a very special way. Beyond the celebration, the cakes and uniforms, I also want to hear directly from children themselves, because they are the future of our society. They are the future of every society, not just our society. And today, I have my daughter, Daisy Abbas, and of course, some of our classmates or schoolmates right here in the studio with me, and we're going to have a quick conversation with them. Now, let me start with you, Amara. I want you to tell the public what's your name and which school do you represent?
My name is Miriam, and I'm in Chrisland School, Lekki.
All right. Sir, what's your name, sir?
My name is Timothy, and I represent Chrisland School, Lekki.
Many thanks for being here. And what's your name again?
My name is Daisy Abbas and I represent Christian School Lekki.
All right, many thanks for creating time to be here today, to lend your voice so that other children can also learn from you and take some note from whatever you'll be sharing today. So let me ask you, now that you've told us your name, I would like you to at least tell us your interest in future and why did you choose that profession, if you are to be answering that question, Amara.
So I want to be a content creator.
Why?
I want to be a content creator because I want to be in front of the TV and I want to show people how to do stuff, how to bake and other stuff like that.
Interesting. I think content creation, does it have to do with AI or because, you know, the world is tilting towards technology today? What is actually, you know, driving that, you know, ambition to be a content creator?
So I watch YouTube and I also watch some other content creators on Snapchat and some other stuff.
Interesting. All right. So let me come to you, sir. So I know that a lot have been shared behind the cameras before we came into the live studio right now, but I must ask you, if you are to become Nigeria's president tomorrow, what is that one thing that you want to change or you want other children, you know, in this country, Nigeria, to learn from the present administration? What do you have to say to this?
I'd say that some children do not have the right to education, and I'll gladly build more schools for free, and they'll be allowed to go to school every day, especially for education. And there's some people living under the bridge. I'll give them houses, right to shelter, and right to food.
Awesome. I love that. And, you know, that's like CSR as well. So let me come to you, Daisy, and you'll be the final, that will be the final question I'll be asking you guys, you know, with all that you, both of you have all shared thus far. So, Daisy, I would like you to share one important thing that you feel your parent or your school have taught you thus far that you think that you want other children who are listening to you right now to learn from you. What do you have to say?
I think about discipline and teamwork, because without that, none of this is possible around.
Discipline, teamwork, because none of this is possible if we do not have this. And honestly, listen to the children. Sometimes it reminds us adults that the future is full of hope. We guide these young minds properly. But let me use this medium to say happy Children's Day to every child listening to us today. Keep dreaming, keep learning, and of course, keep believing yourself, because the future belongs to you all. On this note, can you please give all of you a round of applause? What do you have to say? What do you have to say to the group, the television house that gave you the opportunity to lend your voice today? What do you have to say to them quickly?
Thank you.
Say thank you, Silverbird.
Thank you, Silverbirds.
All right, and happy Children's Day to you all.
Happy Children's Day to you all.
Thank you. On this note, this is where I draw the curtains of the show. Till I come your way next week, remember to be kind to one another and put a smile on somebody's face. My name remains Kikelomo Atanda-Owo. About it. Bye now.